Who has already heard the sentence "trash your servers and burn your code"? Just one person. So that was a blog post of like 4 years ago by Chad Fowler, where it was basically probably the first blog post or like public writing thing that put the idea of immutable infrastructure. I'm not saying that this is the thing that invented immutable infrastructure, because many folks had been doing immutable infrastructure without calling it like that, but this is like, I would say, the first intelligible, clear explanation of what is immutable infrastructure and why it's great, etc. So I will illustrate that by screwing up bigly with my containers. I'm going to do ls to company name generator.rb, and then I'm going to reload that, and so I screwed up big time, and if I'm lucky, I can just maybe roll back to the previous version. Maybe I can do a git checkout of that code or whatever. Now let's kind of take a step back and imagine that we have a much more complex environment, and repairing is not going to be just like checking out a file and reloading. My application needs to do many things, and at this point my container image is completely dead, and I need to go back to something that works as fast as possible. Well, there are some good news here. First, my container image is still here, so if I want, I can just like restart a container without the volume and I'll be fine. But even better, if I look at my Docker PS here, I still have my old version of Namer up and running here on port 32770. So if I want, I can just go to that port and I have my previous version up and running. So what I'm trying to illustrate here with this example is that with these Docker files and all that stuff, it's really easy to build images, keep these images around, and when something bad happens, just restart the old version. And you can even afford to keep old and new versions running side by side, and that's okay. If you look at what folks like Netflix have been doing for years, I don't want to put a number because I would probably get it wrong, but okay, let's say maybe 4 or 5 years. They've been doing exactly that, not with containers, but with AMIs, like with Amazon VM images. Each time they roll out a new version, they don't upgrade servers because upgrades can go bad, and then you're kind of left in a weird state where it half works, etc. When they roll out a new version, they provision new VMs, install everything on the new VM, and then put this VM in production. In fact, they don't create a bunch of VMs and install stuff on a bunch of VMs. They create a VM image, and once that VM image is known good, then they just have to create a bunch of VMs from that VM image. So this whole idea is not new. What's new from my point of view is that now you can do that even if you're not Netflix, basically. What we've done with this little like 5 lines Docker file and these like Docker run commands gives us the possibility of doing immutable infrastructure without requiring all the heavy artillery and logistics that are required to do that in a cloud environment. Okay. And the workflow I deployed, like let's bake a VM image and let's create VMs from that VM image, etc. That workflow is, I mean, if you're working with VM image, that's pretty heavy, and it takes some time to just create a VM image. Like that's not instant. So with containers, by leveraging all those little things, so first writing a Docker file is fairly easy. Then building a Docker file is fairly quick, especially when you can leverage caching. And then running a bunch of containers is pretty fast. All these things, like compared to the VM equivalent. We could do all these things with VMs, but it would be one or maybe a few orders of magnitude slower. That doesn't mean that VMs are bad or whatever, but it means that we had some really powerful patterns with VMs, and now we can use those patterns even at a smaller scale when the stakes are smaller and with more agility and speed.